I'm Sonal Shah. Until about a month ago, I worked at the White House running an office on social innovation and civic participation. But as a person, I think I'm more just, I believe in the concept of change and the idea that no matter where you are, you have the ability to change the surroundings around you and to make the world a slightly better place. And in college, didn't want to be a math major, but I like the concept of economics and how economics can help frame theories. And understanding how those theories came together was actually very interesting to me. And so I went into economics wanting to try to understand what was happening around me through a framework. And the economic framework just seemed to work for me. And I loved learning about it. I loved the math aspect of it, but I really thought economics kind of helped in understanding, in general, the world has budget constraints. And you have to live within certain constraints that you have. Doesn't mean you can't change them, but they exist. And so how do you work within that? And how do you make those changes happen? And so that, I just appreciate the way economics has that ability to help me think through that. And that micro, if you add up all those micro pieces of change, eventually it leads to a macro policy change. But in many ways, we've been making these macro changes based on research over 20 years. But even that research is, if you're an economist, you kind of, like, there's bias in everything that you do, and that research just has somewhat of a bias already put in there. Not that technology doesn't have for a bias to some extent. Those people that give information are the ones that have the proclivity to give it. But so what happens with the technology piece of this is it allows a small d democracy to work. And then when you think about social innovation, what you're really looking for is those things that are working in local communities and trying to scale them. And what technology offers is that link to what's working in these local communities and why do people think it's working, and then how do you assess that to make scale happen. So I think we have to be willing to take some risks that comes with that. So part of the problem with failure is that we don't have an appetite for it, but yet in the technology, in the economic space, we have a lot of appetite for it. You know, GE might try 50 products before they, sell one, but they're willing to take that risk in that. We have to do the same in the social sector. We've got to be willing to test and say, if we want to solve the education crisis, if we want to change the dropout rate, then let's take some risk. Because we're already at 50% dropout. So the worst it's going to get is stay the same. And if that's the status quo, then why not take some risk? And I think there are a lot of people that are doing it. I think the system itself has a fear of, between the compliance and the fear of failure, we're not willing to make bets on some.